Yo, yo. What's up? What's up? Man, there's like almost no heat this morning in the market. Not that I saw that I liked. We got a slight gap up in the market here. So you're getting it after a big 600 point down day. When you get a gap up like that, you can often get like what's called an inside day, which is just like a low range day inside the previous day's range. Those days are really tricky to trade because to really release the market, you either got to break below yesterday's lows, right? Like we did yesterday, right? See how we took down the previous day's lows? That creates the selling. That's when they kind of turn the algos on and really get these things going. But when you're sitting there with an inside day, that can be a little bit tricky. So what we have to do is really let the range kind of resolve itself. So when you're looking at this, kind of how I'm looking at two things. Right now, technically the market's oversold, so we're due for a bounce, right? But we don't have any catalyst yet for probably a major bounce. So right now, it's just all systems as a go in terms of how we've already been trading. There's two things that can happen today. A light gap like this could very well just get faded. You could go green to red on the market, and then it's just all systems as a go. You whip out the TVIX, some of the inverse ETFs, some of the shorts on different names. And guys, the stuff that we've been talking about the last few days, on the short side, they've all been really, really following through, Yelp and, there's been, one after another, Yelp, Etsy. So, the playbook that we've been using to short, I think that these names we could still keep on the list. The key is going to be, does the market hold or does it go green to red? If it goes green to red, then we're just done, right? We'll just come in and back with the short wagon. If we start to bounce, what you want to start to see is like on shorter term time frames, and different time frames, you really need to see it kind of take out some levels. If we start to come up and we start to boost through kind of like 180, 181, I think that's when you're going to get some real juice in the market. And then, we'll be able to kind of fill this gap in. I'm going to keep a short watch list today. I want to just trade really liquid names with range because that's where the action is. We've been killing this JMIA in the chat room the last couple of days. It's a huge turd. Like this is probably, going to be a $10 stock at some point. But we're in kind of that phase where you're getting a dead cat bounce. The range on it was awesome. So a couple things that we always look for, right? One is relative strength. Relative strength on a day that the market is just getting crushed. This thing is up 8.5%. It's just oversold, and I believe the SSR was probably on it. So it was really flying around yesterday. Every single dip was getting bought up. One thing with this stock is, number one, due to its spread and the way that it's acting, because it is a huge turd, you can't buy it on strength, right? If you just draw like a squiggly line and try to hit like a breakout, it doesn't work. You got to really hit it on dips, let the trend set, and then sell into the spikes due to that spread and just the way it acts. BYND also had relative strength yesterday. Another probably huge monstrous turd, but it's just oversold, and it's due for that dead cat bounce. We had a really, really nice move on the red to green yesterday. I think that this one, as long as it can kind of hold out above, the previous day's highs, I think we'll have a chance on this one. It moves really well. Like when you're trading it, it can skip dollars if you actually have the right entry on it. So just be mindful of it. This is another one, due to the spread, it punishes you when you chase it. Seriously, like if you do like a little flag or a little ORB or something like that, the setups just don't work on it due to it. But if you can get it down into support zones, you can really rip $2-3 at it. We ripped a couple points on it a couple times and took one loss on it, but it's got that kind of ability. You just got to make sure to hit it really on dips and don't chase this thing. On the earnings side, I like this cyber it's kind of gapping up, but anything under 130, like I'm not a believer in this. Remember that when we're trading, we're trying to align on multiple time frames, right? So I want to see something that's getting boosted on its daily, a breakout on its daily chart that aligns with what I'm seeing intraday, right? So anything under 130, this very well could just fade off. So, I don't want to be playing this one if it can't stay over 130. So till that happens, it's just, it's donezo. And then I really like this kind of TME. TME over here. This is just a rollover pattern. I believe this is Chinese stock too, so we should punish these guys, right? Like the rest of the Chinese stock. You got basically kind of like a head and boulders or whatever you want to call it, right? Anything under here. You've got tons of airspace on this. The liquidity is actually pretty good on it, so I think that this one is on watch for a potential ORB. Otherwise, the list is really, really light. I got day 2 plays on some of these. We shredded this MYL and some of these little drug manufacturers yesterday. I think that this one, you've got still a little bit of range. If it starts to get jammed up, right, and you start to see it kind of run into 2075, 2050s, and then watch for a potential rollover. I think that you could get a second day short in some of these. Same thing with Tiva. I usually go with MYL just because it's a little higher price. It gives me more range, but Tiva's will work just as fine. A lot of these ones are running in together. They're all getting sued for some type of price fixing, so they're just getting smoked out. You had a really clean kind of ORB on this thing yesterday. I think that there's probably some additional downside. I'll watch and see, though, like how this thing starts to react, around some of these levels. So watch this 1250 mark. That was kind of the breakdown yesterday that took it to kind of under 10. You're getting a small gap up on this one. So if it gets jammed up into that 1250, 1275 zone, and then you start to see a little bit of a rollover on smaller term time frames, I think that you'll get a second day play in this. Caveat is going to be the SSR is on this thing, so if you've got SSR on it, right, you can't short the bids. You got to be a little bit more careful. Oh, this is a blast from the past, Scott. Yeah, you know what? This one has a history of getting kind of pumped and then dumped at some point. So if you guys like small caps, you may get like kind of a quick pop in this thing at some point. And then, if you start really kind of getting into these 6s and 7s, this one does have a history of just one-day moves and then fading. You can see here, one-day move in complete reversal that day. See the tail on this? One-day move in a reversal. There are just some stocks that they just love to kind of pump them every year. Probably do something very, very shady. The reward is probably not there if you're getting into the, 450s. But if you start getting up here, that becomes a lot more juicy, right? That's going to give you a lot more stuff. So, guys, trade well today. It's a wild market. A wild market sucks you into oversizing, okay? Don't let that happen to you. Sometimes when we see volatility, we think like, man, I got to get more and more size to capture the volatility. But when you have volatility, you want to let the volatility work for you, right? You trade a little bit smaller, scale into your plays properly, and then, right, when you see the opportunity, hit it and take advantage of the volatility. But, you don't have to get sucked into it. I make that big mistake all the time when the market gets, really, really wild. I start thinking like, gosh, if I had just had this much size, I would have made so much money. And that's, when you trade too much size, you start nickel and diming and scalping, and you're not really playing for the real move. So be good today, guys. Make me proud. Everybody, good luck. And if anybody needs me, you know where I am. Kunal at bullsbootcamp.ws. 517-974-1480. Peace.